ask around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
What's happening, guys? Beck here again with you. Another Proud Panthers podcast, a part of the Triad Talk Network family. You can get tons of stuff over on our website, triadtalknetwork.com, and that's actually the exclusive affiliate page link for High Point Panthers as well. That I'm excited. We have some dates now in hand for some coaches shows that we're looking to do. We also will be out at, I keep calling it Street Fest. I think it's Block Party, the third year that the athletic department is hosting Panthers fans with a basketball court in the middle of the street in downtown High Point. I think it's an awesome event. I've enjoyed it the past couple years. To be out there again at this year's event as well. Big episode today. One that is in high demand. It is by far and away the most listened to episode. Actually, I said that before. Now that I start thinking about it, it might be the second most listened to episode of season 1 of the Proud Panthers podcast when we welcomed in Athletic Director Dan Hauser. The first, it might be close. I'll have to really look. The first, I think, though, is in preparation for the Wisconsin game. Yeah, being right around the NCAA tournament, a lot of eyes and interest on High Point basketball. Turned out well for us, way better than it did for the Badgers. Still excited to be considering that game here on an episode where we're going to be rejoined by Dan. He is an awesome guest, somebody that if you haven't listened to before, had a chance to just sit and spend some time with, we went 40 minutes long. So by far and away, I have to say, man, I'm so appreciative of not only Dan and the leadership he brings to the athletic department at High Point, but I'm really just super thankful that he was able to give of his time, that much time, where we could just sit and talk shop for a while. We went over tons of stuff. I call it kind of the state of athletics at High Point University for this episode. And we shared time last year, a few different opportunities to do that with Dan. I hope that'll be the same again here this coming basketball season as well. But wanted to use this episode in particular to kick off again, time with him as we look ahead to preseason. I will say, just for the housekeeping elements, we're going to try to get back to having the players on with us. We just started into the newcomers the past couple of episodes. Don't miss out on getting to know CJ Brown, Franquan Sherman. We've had some of the returners on already, Cam and Caden and Conrad and Braden and so on and so forth. So we're going to continue to churn through those players. All those episodes available at triadtalknetwork.com or in the archives of your major podcast catchers. I will say as well, for this episode, we're just doing a portion of our conversation. Really the elements that reside mostly around basketball. We get some of Dan's thoughts on the hiring of Wyatt Faust, the new women's basketball coach, where I'll preemptively say, I asked him, I feel like it's a super nerdy question, but probably one of the most intriguing questions I've had the ability to ask Dan before. I just think it's very, very interesting. I'll get a short or reel out at some point, giving the full little perspective of his answer and the question and everything that I'm talking about. But you'll hear it today on this episode. Also, we had Dan talk a lot about our High Point men's team. So, of course, that'll be a part of this. If you're interested in the full 40-minute conversation, I'm reviving teedoffsports.com a little bit. And what I mean by that, just quick little background for those who've been following along. That site has had some different evolutions is probably the best way to say it over the past couple years, year and a half or so. But it's back. It's still there. Still a place where I think at this point, I've kind of decided to use that as really just a resource to share exclusive content. Things that I'm doing during my day-to-day that otherwise I'm not able to fully share everything. So if you want the full, uninterrupted glimpse at our 40-minute conversation with Dan, and then into the future, whatever I'm doing, where I'm at, what I'm covering, exclusive things to kind of put it behind the curtain, then be sure to go and catch that over at teedoffsports.com. All right. When we come back, Dan Hauser with us, giving us the state of really the basketball portion of our High Point University Panthers.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
After the women's basketball team, had a lot of success in its own right as well. What excites you about Coach Faust, about the direction that he sees the program moving forward in, and what led you to choose him to be the next basketball coach here at High Point for women?
Sure. I mentioned to the all-staff meeting on Tuesday, sometimes success leads to some transition. And I tip my hat to Chelsea Banbury. She did an outstanding job here and took us to 7 titles and multiple NCAA tournaments, and success knocked on her door, and she chose to walk through it. And that led to an opportunity for us, and it was an opportunity to get out there and see where our product has, evolved towards, and could we attract a high-level coach? And when successful coaches leave, while I never want a successful coach to leave, as fans, we should all appreciate that, because the interest level of candidates when you have a coach that's brought your program from one position and made it to another is astronomically different. You're not like twisting someone's arm to have interest. And for fans out there, also just understand the majority of head coach openings that happen is because someone failed and they got fired. That's probably 80% of head coach opportunities that are open. It's rare that opportunities open because someone retired and they were successful, or they were, went to another level. So with that, I look at all head coach opportunities. It's my job to do the homework and get busy and get working. And so I investigated the space of women's basketball, just like I did when I hired Chelsea from Florida Gulf Coast. I investigated that space of women's basketball, tried to see who's winning out there, what programs have been really successful the last couple of years, get on the phone and ask some peer mentors, who are you impressed with? What programs are you impressed with? And through all that dialogue, it led me to zero in on a lot of candidates. But one of those candidates was at Murray State, and that was Wyatt Faust. And, when you add all that information in the funnel, at the beginning of the process, you start to get to a few people that are dripping out at the bottom, and you really want to race to the phone and get to talk to them. And I also chase coaches. I don't wait for coaches to apply. And so once I started hearing about Murray State and Wyatt, I sent him an email and said, "Hey, I think I got a great opportunity for you. Would you be interested?" He didn't apply. And he told me that he was with his wife. I think they may have been talking about opportunities, or maybe traveling to the women's Final Four or something, when my email hit. And he showed it to his wife, chuckling or whatever, and responded, "Let's get on the phone and talk." And that's how it started with him. It started with other candidates the exact same way.
Sure.
But it started with him. And then I also had a bunch of candidates I outreached to, and they tell me, it's not the right time, it's not the right fit, I'm not interested. And I never get offended by that. The key is finding the right fit, the right person.
Yeah, I hate to interject here. I really am curious because we don't all get to fire off those emails and try to approach these coaches with an opportunity. Do you ever LinkedIn, send a little LinkedIn message to a coach and say, hey, I got an opportunity, and equal, at times I think there's requirements for an athletic department to do a post about certain jobs. I think that's something that certain institutions have to do. So you see those show up on a LinkedIn. Do you feel that those are even valid or worthy of time?
Yeah, I mean, we post our job, and I'll post it on NCAA.org and LinkedIn or any opportunity you can. I think you have to work both sides of the process. While I'm chasing certain people and learning about women's basketball, I am not ignoring the people that find the job or are excited and applying on their own. I'm looking at everybody in the funnel equally, because there could be an awesome candidate that is an assistant coach in Virginia, North Carolina, or South Carolina, knows a lot about our product. The moment they see our head coach is gone, they're excited to come here. So I think both those things are happening at once. And I'm doing my homework and doing my phone calls and doing some research along the way and getting to a phone call. But then I got on the, Wyatt accepted my outreach, and some coaches said it's not the right fit for them, and I understand. But then, those first calls, I try to have 2 or 3 calls with a person. And I'd also talked to President Cobain on this, and just like the men's basketball last 2 searches, he said, hey, just zero in. I trust you. Zero in on the right candidates and let me talk to either 1 or 2 of the finalists that you believe is the best. And so myself and Wyatt had a great conversation. If you don't know a lot about Murray State basketball, they were in the top 3 in the nation in offensive scoring. They've won 30+ games in multiple years. And Murray, Kentucky is not, Tampa Bay, Florida, or some glamorous location. So that perks me up. Like, how are they recruiting talent to this little place in Kentucky? How are they winning all these games? And it's intriguing. How's this style of play scoring so many points night in and night out? And so through that dialogue and through getting to know Wyatt, it became very apparent that he was the right fit for us, not only in his history and his experience and that offensive mindset, but also his connections in the recruiting world. And you have to get talent. I think we've seen some pretty good men's basketball coaches chase down talent and get talent, and that's an important piece as well. And I think I had a lot of confidence in him. And this summer, he's walked in the door. He's gotten a transfer from Michigan State women's basketball. He's got a transfer from Purdue women's basketball. He's got a transfer from the U in Miami women's basketball. He's gotten a couple of got a Canadian guard who played on the U19 team up there and did some special things. He has already signed a top 100 4-star recruit, or got a verbal from a top 100 4-star recruit. Would be the highest women's basketball recruit in HPU history. I'm asking my staff to find out. It might be conference history, but HPU history. And we are eagerly awaiting an answer from another top 100 recruit out of the Midwest, who might give us an answer of a yes here in August, and that could be 2 4-star recruits in 5 months of being on the job, which is pretty good progress thus far. So it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball. I think fans are going to love seeing a women's team score 90+ points a game. And that's the space they lived in Murray State. That's what he wants to replicate here. And that's a fun brand of basketball.
Yeah, I would echo the success to me is when a new coach is hired and you're able to retain players and keep some of them around this day and age, because no matter when that time hits, you well know this, they get an extra month of transfer portal time if there's a coach change, so they can easily just jump ship and some very key integral players from last year's team remain to stay on this year's team under Coach Faust as well. So excited about that 90-point average night. I'll find myself watching many more High Point women's basketball games than I already have. Well, I think it's fair to turn our attention to the men's side of things, where Flynn Clayman returns for his second official men's basketball season as head coach. And I don't know that when we sat here a year ago, Dan, that I would have seen a way to take a historic season like we had, getting to the NCAA tournament for the first time, battling with a very good Purdue basketball team. I don't know that I could have sat here and said, yeah, we're going to top that. We're going to build off of that with no problems. And so now we sit here another year removed, and we've not only made it back to that NCAA tournament, we've not only won a Big South championship, we've not only beaten a team, winning a game in the NCAA tournament, but competing at a very high level against Arkansas, to which there were times during that game that I'm sure Coach Cal was very antsy, to say the least. Can we top this again going into year 2 for Flynn and a third straight year of just I don't know, breaking the barriers?
Definitely. It's no doubt in my mind. We expect to be there. I'm sure Coach Flynn and a locker room of guys were disappointed with the end of last year, because they wanted to go to the Sweet 16 and beyond and believe they deserve to be there. And I want our fans to believe that we deserve to be there. The days of wishing and hoping are over. We got to have the confidence and the, just the willpower and the grit and determination to make these things happen now, and dream big and believe big. And my dreams are not on the Sweet 16. My dreams are beyond that. And if other teams have been able to do it, like a George Mason or a Butler, why can't High Point University dream as big as we want to dream? Don't let someone frame the box for us. And so I think, you've got a head coach in Flynn Clayman. I think it's one of the reasons I love him. I love all of our coaches, but I definitely seek out coaches that never define the ceiling for them. And Flynn's one of those types of guys. And, you mentioned, that transition from Alan Huss to Flynn. I hope our fans appreciate what Flynn accomplished this year, because that was a Herculean task, and it's amazing. And you think you have pressure.
Yeah.
That there was a lot of pressure for Flynn and his entire staff to replicate the success. We were picked first in every poll. And when you have that, you have a target on your back, and he's becoming a head coach for the first time in his history, in his life. And can our fans say that he navigated that at a master class? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable.
It better be said. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an amazing leader of our men's basketball program to handle those stormy seas for an entire season and get us to the position we're in. But I think it goes back to what, you said about Wyatt and a couple of guys stayed. It would have been easy when Allen left for everybody to bolt, but we didn't have that. Terry stayed, Chase Johnston stayed, Braden Howson stayed. We had enough pieces stay and stay on board. The other thing that people don't realize is we had a lot of people committed to us, had already been in the transfer portal and committed to HPU, who did not divert and change their direction, which could have been another extreme challenge that Flynn navigated. He communicated to those players, and this school environment impressed those transfers so much they didn't change course. They believed in High Point, and they still came, because all of that could have changed. And I applaud those young men who stayed the course, because in today's college athletics, while we beat up everybody going to their fourth school, our fans should appreciate the fact that that didn't happen here. And Flynn was able to really get off the ground with a solid team his first summer. But to go back to your question, we're going beyond the Sweet 16. And we're going to win multiple games in the NCAA tournament. And, we're going to try and be 30 wins or more. I keep showing stats to people, but one of the stats out there is we've won 87 games in the past 3 years in college basketball. That's top 5 in the nation. And the people above us are Houston, Duke, Connecticut, Purdue.
And that's it.
And there's 365 basketball programs out there, and we are 5th in the nation in wins over the last 3 years. Are you kidding me? So for us to dream that we can be in the Sweet 16 and beyond, why don't we? Those teams above us dream to win a national championship, and our fans should have the exact same dreams.
I love it. High Point Athletic Director Dan Hauser with us. We're turning a focus here to, again, a season that'll be here quicker, I think, than a lot of people realize. And we have some small glimpses at some teams that we're going to be able to play in our non-conference scheduling. Washington State inside the Quabain Center. You had mentioned George Mason here inside the Quabain Center. We're going to get to travel and play teams like LSU and St. Louis. Duquesne is one of those neutral site matchups, and Miami of Ohio is another one that you could argue is kind of a home but neutral site as well. So the schedule that's been put together is, well, just from a generic college basketball viewpoint, it's very tasty. It looks pretty good on paper. What does it take, though, out of your department? And I know Flynn works really hard in communicating and working with other staffs to try to put together these games as well. But how did those building blocks come to be?
Yeah, it is a process that's very challenging to find opponents that are willing to face you and play you. And Flynn mentioned a little bit of that at his post-game win.
Yeah.
So Wisconsin, a little bit. I don't think he wasn't attempting to disparage universities from playing us. I think his main point was this is good for college basketball for us to play Wisconsin. And it's good for Wisconsin to play us, and it's good for Arkansas to play us. And in the spirit of basketball, not trying to disparage any school or university out there, but in the spirit of basketball, why can't we get these matchups more? Because it's healthy and it's good for everybody. And I think, the barriers and the challenges are net rankings and RPI rankings and seeds, everybody chasing seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the unfortunate result that comes out of some of the scheduling is the pressure of all those matrix to be positioned for the seeds, and that kind of eliminates the matchup. I think Flynn was trying to say, it's a shame that that's the case, I guess, not picking on schools. But we really got to work, this summer, myself and Flynn. We are very fortunate, and our fans should be very appreciative of a president that understands scheduling, supports our school to buy games, so we have the ability to go out and purchase games. There are a lot of schools at our level that have to go chase guarantee games, and a fan of ours might see one of our other conference members going to play 3 to 5 games at Power 4 school conferences just to collect a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a brutal reality. And we at High Point don't have that. And that's thanks to President Cobain and understanding the importance of scheduling. And our scheduling philosophy for 2 years in a row has gotten us a 12 seed and a 13 seed. And so we're trying, can we get an 11 seed or a 10 seed? And this will be the hardest schedule in I believe in my 12-year, now 13-year, 10-year, top to bottom, the hardest basketball schedule.
Yeah, I can believe it.
That we've ever put together. So that's an exciting opportunity. I think on top of the guarantee money I think Flynn did a really good job identifying schools that might be facing the same challenge that we are, whereas no Power 4 school wants to play us. And he just boldly got on the phone and sought some alliances with those other coaches. St. Louis is an amazing basketball program if you look at their last 5 years. They're extremely successful. And I know that Power Fives probably aren't interested in playing them. We just saw Miami, Ohio go the entire regular season undefeated. How many people are raising their hand in the Power 4 level to host them or play them? Probably not very many. And so Flynn got on the phone and worked the angle on a Liberty University, a George Mason, a St. Louis, a Miami, Ohio, that are maybe in the same boat as us. And when we started sharing that dialogue and probably that shared experience, I think it opened the doors and people are like, hey, yeah, you got a good point. Let's play each other. We can create some amazing matchups by playing each other. And so, home and homes with St. Louis, home and homes against George Mason, even though the Miami, Ohio games at the Greensboro Swarm facility, Novant Health Complex, I think that's what it's called, will be going back to Miami, Ohio and playing them next year in a neutral court in Ohio. So fans have a great chance, at least this year and next year, to see this really amped up schedule. And that's going to be fun. And it's going to be pressureful, there'll be more pressure on us, but we want that. We think our program's evolved to that. And, do we win 31 games with a schedule like that? We want to, but it's going to be harder, and fans need to know that. And the teams we are facing, some of those teams are 28 a year winning teams themselves, or 30 a year winning teams themselves that we have on the schedule this year. So they're used to winning too.
High Point University Athletic Director Dan Hauser with us. I have two last kind of hard-hitting questions. The first being NCAA tournament expansion. It's happened. We're going to have a first 4 round that is, I guess it's tripled in a way to where there's 2 sites now. Do you feel at all that will help a school like High Point University?
Possibly. When you hear about Miami's undefeated season and people saying that if they lost in the Mid-American Conference tournament, they weren't getting in. Thank goodness they did lose in their MAC tournament, because boy, if we're ever in a situation like that, I mean, college basketball should just, fold up the tent and go somewhere else.
Agreed.
I mean, undefeated, are you kidding me? You slip up one time and you don't get in or something, and it was in a conference tournament. So I'm hopeful that the expansion, prevents even the conversation about something like that. I remember when Pat Kelsey was at College of Charleston before he went to Louisville, and I think he had a 30-plus win team, and people were saying if he doesn't win the CAA conference, he doesn't get in. Now, I think you got to have, at our level, for us, we probably need to be at the 30 win mark, and it's not going to happen if you're at 26 wins or something, but if you're at 30 or 31 wins in the regular season, and we were unfortunate enough not to get over the finish line in a conference tournament, I think expansion helps that. But let's not kid ourselves. Expansion helps Power 4s get more in. And I'm not opposed to that. I think the college basketball brand is pretty healthy. And every time, I remember back in the day of ACC basketball, if you didn't win the ACC tournament, you weren't guaranteed in. And, there was the amazing, legendary multiple overtime game, I think, between Maryland and NC State back in the Tommy Burleson days and stuff, where State beat Maryland and Maryland didn't get in. And I think about, has expansion ever hurt that? And every time the tournament's gone to 48 or 64, I think it's been healthy every time. I don't think we need to be at 90 or something, but I'm not afraid of this. And I think it's only going to get more excitement around the tournament and potentially solve some of those things that I just hoped I never was going to be able to witness. If Charleston Southern didn't get in, luckily they that year they won their tournament in the CAA, but if 30+ win teams don't get in, that's a travesty, and I hope that we never, especially for teams that could be 14 and 16 or something.
Yeah, getting the same opportunity.
Getting the same opportunity. So I think High Point can be helped by that. I don't think that, I think it would have to be an upset in the championship game for the Big South to get 2 teams in. I don't see a day when 2 teams are really, really good and the number 1 seeded Big South team wins, but the number 2 seeded Big South team is so respected nationally that it gets in. But it could help some leagues like the A10. The A10 has gotten 2 to 3 teams in the past, and a Mountain West has gotten a couple teams in. The West Coast Conference, it'll be interesting with Gonzaga leaving, but when you look at the West Coast Conference with St. Mary's and those conferences have had more than one team get in, and I hope that continues.
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Looking forward to a great year of athletics, great academic year ahead for High Point University.
I would love to do it. I hope our fans are excited about the season ahead out there, and any of the community members come out and see our teams, because we're putting on some high level national caliber programs, and welcome you to come and see our athletes.